Hello, good morning or afternoon, Sir Yosef Djakababa. Before I start my presentation, allow me to introduce myself. I am Tiffany Sharon Simagala, majoring in international relations from international class, concentrating on ASEAN studies along with my student number 0104-3210-030. Today's topic will be presenting for my midterm exam in nationalism in Southeast Asia. Without further ado, I will start. Okay, in this slide, you can see two specific questions taken by the midterm guidelines, and I will explain as well, describing my answers to those questions. Okay, we are now heading to the first question. Please explain and elaborate on Ernest Renan's idea of what is a nation, along with a description and explanation from both primordial and modernist perspective. To answer the first question, what is Ernest Renan's idea about what is a nation? Firstly, what concepts do Renan identify as making up a nation? How does he feel about each of them? And Renan recognized that there was a misconception regarding the nation, the term nation, or the definition of nation. And in addition, since he is a historian, he is able to answer many issues that concern concepts like this. So race, language, religion, common interest, and geography does not make a nation. But in Ernest Renan's idea, he stated that past, present, future, and sacrifice is what made a nation. Nation here in this context refers to a great solidarity based on the sacrifices made by the past heroes that fought for the country or nation. For instance, national heroes here in this slide of Indonesia that fought against the Dutch colonialism to independence, and because of this, Indonesians preserve and remember their heroic deeds. Okay, and in Renan's idea, Southeast Asia is specific because Southeast Asia diversity consisting of their culture, religion, ethnic ideology, and much more is stated as hybrid. Southeast Asia does not have an overarching dominant culture in the region, different from the other region. So hence that Renan's idea emphasized on non-primordial characteristics becoming very influential and appealing to Southeast Asian nationalist leaders or thinkers. And nationalist ideas seemingly to work in Southeast Asia, but not without continuous challenges, where this created a new national identity, which is a possible solution for Southeast Asian nation building. And in his concept, he explained that nations have two perspectives, which are primordial and modernist. Primordial is where nationality and nations are a natural part of human beings and have existed from time and immemorial attributes such as religion, race, and ethnicity. Nation has a golden age, but based on their physical attributes mentioned and goes along with. So, for example, Indonesia's history on the Majapahit Kingdom, and which is known for their past greatness. And another thing is that when a nation claims their superiority of its national culture, they experiences a period of recess which are destined to awaken that country itself. For example, be China, Japan, Russia, Indonesia, because past greatness is seen as something given to. And I would like to proceed my explanation with historical antiquity from primordial perspective, which are immemorial and perennial characters. And it is rooted in modern nations, stretching back several centuries into the distant past, and nation as a category of human association that can be found everywhere throughout history. So, for example, the ethno-nationalists, like places in the USA and Australia, where they once accommodated by the natives, yet they have not set up states in the territory in question. It was the Malays in Malaya and the English-speaking Christians in Australia that defined core culture and set conditions which by which subsequent migrants there where they are admitted. So it is the culture that is claimed to be indigenous, and they became the identity of that nation. Next is the modernist perspective. Different from the primordial, they share very little in common, but they acknowledge the modernity of nations and nationalism, such as nation and nationalism are the products of modern processes like capitalism, industrialization, urbanization, secularism, and emergence of modern bureaucratic states. Nation and nationalism is a sociological necessity in the modern world, and modern process like of the transformation that gave birth to nations and nationalism can be explained from 3 points of view, such as the economic transformation, political transformation, and social and cultural transformation. Next slide. Next up is the last question, or the second question. So I'm going to elaborate my answer based on David Henley's Origin of Southeast Asia. Basically, David Henley and Ernest Renan are different in terms of way of thinking and concept on answering the questions from the guidelines. So I will be switching based on David Henley's perspective. But before proceeding to this case, I would like to raise a question such as, does it lie in indigenous affinities and solidarities, or because there are dynamics of Western expansion and reaction against it? The answer to the second question is that due to the reason of different dynamics of state formation and development of nationalism ideas between mainland and island in Southeast Asia. So basically, in Southeast Asia, they have mainland and island categories. Starting from mainland, they experience a long process of political centralization where they are fueled by interstate conflict to a growing uniformity of language and culture within each state akin to old nations of Europe. So for example, the rivalries between Siam and Burma, and rivalries and countries of exchange dominations between the Indochina countries, Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam, and sometimes with Siam too. And I also wanted to quote from Sir Yosef's lectures that he once mentioned that he would argue that geographical conditions also played a critical role in enhancing interstate conflict as well. Whilst for island in Southeast Asia, they are politically and culturally units remaining much less connected until the coming up and availability of imported foreign doctrine, along with the resentment towards foreign rule, became the basis for the development of national solidarity that led into nationalist ideas. And I want to add as well that origins of Southeast Asia is also influenced by colonialism. So like the Indochina and Vietnamese identity, Indochinese identity failed to launch despite Indochina, which is Laos, Cambodia, and Vietnam, like I mentioned before, being a French Indochina. It is because Vietnam has always a strong sense of self-identity. Another thing is that Cambodia and Laos have strong sentiment against the Vietnamese, since the French used the Vietnamese in their bureaucracy to administer Laos and Cambodia. And last thing is that Java and Vietnam had ethnic homogeneity, tradition and political unity, and independence which established over a long period. And the longer establishing and more intrusive colonial state became, the greater the potential for integrative as opposed to exclusive nationalism. So all in all, Henley concludes that Southeast Asia origins are influenced by different spectrums, but based on the timing. Okay, that is all from my presentation. I would like to thank you for watching and paying attention to my presentation topic. May God bless you.